to Lost My Library. My name is Kate. Today I am doing a wrap-up. I haven't done a wrap-up this year, so I will be doing a wrap-up of January to now, well, April. I'm not going to include May because I'm going to hopefully do a May wrap-up to do, all of that. Alright, so let's just get to the book I read in the month of January. The first book I read of 2020 and the first book I read of the new decade was Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doughty. It is a nonfiction book about written by a mortician who answer questions about life and death that kids have sent to her. So she answers things like, as the title says, will my cat eat my eyeballs? Can I give my grandma a Viking funeral? Why can't we use dead people's blood for blood banks? Certain things like that. Just questions. It's really funny. There's a lot of jokes for my generation that I would understand. I appreciated that it's not morbid and it's a nice little nonfiction book. I get 5 out of 5 stars, and it was a great way to begin my year and the decade. My next book that I read in 2020 was also a banger, and I read Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. It is his YA sci-fi series, the first book in it, and I loved this so much. I feel like people describe this book all the time, but if you don't know, it is about Spencer, who is the main character of this series. Her dad is labeled as a coward after a big fight that basically saved them, the human race. So she has a tough life as people look down upon her, and she's not willing to disown her dad, and she's trying to figure out her dad, what happened with her dad, on top of trying to become a pilot and trying to get the chance to become a pilot. But that is very not easy, very, very difficult when everybody seems to want you to fail. So it's a very, very good book. Highly, highly recommend. I am reading the sequel, which is Starsight, this month for Not Natural-a-thon. So I am very, very excited to continue with the series. I thought this was just going to be a duology, and then I thought it was going to be 4 books, and I got very excited because I love my characters. I love Spencer, and I love all her friends in this book. They're very, very, very good people. So I love them. I love them all. They're all my babies, and I just want to hug them. I read was a thriller, I think it would be called. I'm a big fan of horror movies and the horror genre in general, so this title really caught my eye because it's a staple of the horror genre. That is Final Girls by Riley Sager. This is about a girl who is a known final girl. She survives a attack on a group of her friends in a cabin, and she becomes a final girl in all of this, and she is basically her story of meeting with one of the other final girls. There's like 3 in existence, and one of them passes away, and they think that the guy is after all of the final girls in existence. So I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not the best thing. The twist was okay. It wasn't super. I didn't see it coming, but I could see how people would. But I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It just wasn't mind blowing in any way. So it is what it is. This book was a childhood favorite, very short book, and that is The Babysitter's Club, Claudia and the Phantom Phone Calls. These are really cute short stories, short novels, more like novellas in the the series. I own a lot of them, so I think I was doing this for, this is what I usually chose for like child bookshelf and when I do Bookopoly, all that kind of stuff. So this was good. I mean, they're not anything spectacular or anything to write home about. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. If you like this series, you like this series. If you don't, it's okay. It's an older series and you kind of like have to get past some things, but I think it tackles some interesting topics in it. Like one of them has diabetes, so they kind of have to, in the first novel they didn't know until the very end, and then they work around it, and it's pretty interesting to see how that kind of changes their dynamic of like choosing snacks and everything. It's a great story. It's a great book series. 3 stars. Nothing spectacular. It is what it is. Book I read also in January, and that is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This is a historical fiction novel about this guy who every day he's in a different body, and a guest at this party, and every night Evelyn Hardcastle dies. And he has to figure out who murdered Evelyn Hardcastle, and that is the only way to break the cycle. And if he doesn't, he forgets everything that he knew going into it, and then keep going around until he finally does solve the murder. But there are people that are against him that are also trying to solve the murder, and that adds a little bit of spice. It's kind of hard to get into it at first, because you're jumping every time a host falls asleep. He's going into another body, and you have to figure out this body and then working around that. But I give this 4 stars. It's a really interesting way of telling a story, and it's a cool little story. It's not small by any means, but it's a good story. I highly recommend. 4 stars, decent read. Book is a book that is an ebook, but guess what? None of you can actually read it. What? Caitlin, what? You wrote a book that not other people can read? What is it? What is it coming out like later this year? No, you can't read it. It's called 6 Merry Little Murders Christmas Cozy Mystery Novellas. Now, you can read the separate stories, I think. I know one that you can absolutely, in my researching of later of these novels that these characters come from. One of them you can absolutely read, and it's my favorite of the entire set. But you can't read 6 Merry Little Murders in its entirety anymore. Like, it's just gone from you. It's a real book that happened, and it's on Amazon. It was on Amazon, but the page is deleted. A lot. So these are 6 little novellas centered around Christmas, Christmas mysteries, and the first 3 are okay. They're not like the best, and then the 4th book happens, the 4th novella, and it's about the series that it came from is called The Vampire Knitting Club, and I own the first 2 books in that series, and I hope to read the first one in this month for Not Natural-a-thon, because it's a book with, no, I think I'm reading for my free reading. I think I am, but it's she's a witch who owns a yarn shop and has like a knitting club, and there's vampires, because why not? And her grandma is a zombie for whatever reason. It's a very strange little story. And then the other, I think there's 2 more. 2 more after that. And they're also kind of paranormal. The first 3 weren't paranormal, and then it just like switched gears, and it was like, whoa, what? So I give this actually 4 stars for the last 3 novellas. First 3, nothing to write home about. But, well, the 3rd one is Christmas at Baker Street. I was very disappointed that it wasn't actually Baker Street in London. whatever. It had the mob in it, and I was like, who, okay, we go in there, and then the next story happened. I was just, okay, we're doing this, okay, and then nobody can read it anymore. I was like, okay. I'm a special person that's got it on my phone, on my Amazon. Nobody else can read it. I have a hidden gem. Next book I read was a very cute little story, and it's called The Line Tender by Kate Allen. And it is a story about a girl who, her mom was she lives with her dad. Her mom was a biologist, and her dad was a police officer. Man, it's been a while since I read this book. It gives me Bridge to Terabithia vibes. If you love Bridge to Terabithia, please read this. It's a very cute story. And it's a coming of age story, figuring out life and figuring out grief and how to deal with it. And I think it's a very cute little story, and I want other people to read it. Okay, I don't have much to say. Rid of story, and it's the first in a series. I got it for free on Amazon. It's called Mageborn, and it's by Dane Edmondson, and it's very meh. I can't even tell you anything. I think it was about twins. Like, there was twins. One of them could do magic. I really don't remember. Emma was her name? Yeah. Oh, her brother nearly killed her. That was the thing. She has magic. Yep. And then they're going to this place, a school, to learn how to do magic and all of that stuff. It was very, very meh for a fantasy book, and I was like, I'm not continuing. This is bad. This is really bad. I have nothing else to say because I don't remember a thing. It was, again, forgettable, meh, too. And then I read 52 Volume 3, which is a comic book series about where Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, all three disappear, and now the B-list superheroes are having to take over and watch the world while the three biggest superheroes are like, we're on vacation. Bye. There's so many plots going on. There's a major plot with Black Adam and him having a family. And then there is Lex Luthor is creating superheroes. That's a storyline. There's a storyline of Batman lost his mind. Like, there's a quick, like, little story about Batman losing his mind. It was like, where did this come from? Booster Gold. He's a fake superhero. He came from the future, so he knew past events. And then him redeeming himself in all of this. And, don't remember anything else. Can it tell me? Oh, Renee Montoya and the question, that was the thing. Yeah. Oh, and then there was Lobo, Starfire, and Adam Strange, and the Elongated Man, maybe? I think that was the other guy with him. It was two guys in Starfire. I liked it when I was reading it. I don't remember much about it. I'm sorry. I gave it 4 stars when I read it. So it wasn't terrible. I really liked this series, and I just haven't read any more books. Sadie by Courtney Summers. This is a book about a girl named Sadie. Her sister got murdered, and she is now trying to figure out who killed her sister. I gave this 4 stars because there was a podcast aspect of, like, them also trying to figure out what happened and what happened to Sadie on top of everything. I really enjoyed it. The twist, kind of saw that one coming in the end. I'm trying to see what I said. So I really, really don't remember. I don't think I wrote anything. I just gave it 4 stars. That doesn't help me at all. lot of trigger warnings for this. Thank you, Haley, for giving me the trigger warnings here that I can just read off. Pedophilia, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, and violence. All of those are in this book. If you do not like to read that kind of stuff, don't read this book. Because, yeesh, towards the end, yeesh, with Sadie. It's a cute little story. Well, it's not cute. It's a fun story trying to figure out. And if you like podcasts, it's a cool way to read it. And if you have the audiobook, it's even better. I didn't read the audiobook. I didn't listen to the audiobook. But it sounds like a podcast when you listen to it. When you listen to the podcast. Never Have I Ever by Jocelyn Jackson. This is a book about a woman who has a dark secret in the past, and someone comes into her life who is threatening to spill all her secrets of the past. I give this 3 stars. It's not anything all that special. I think the biggest thing was finding out about someone of her past is a lot closer. That's a spoiler. I think the biggest thing is there's quite a few plot twists in this novel, and I am not going to tell you any, obviously. So you should read the book if you want to. It's not that long, and it has a very satisfying ending. I enjoyed the ending very, very much. So, thank you guys. Yeah. Go check it out. And I obviously read this thing. No, I didn't read it. I read the first volume of The Walking Dead, which was called Days Gone By. Like the first episode of The Walking Dead it's called, if you didn't know. Fun fact. I like the comics. This was a reread for me. I have read this entire thing before, so reading the first volume was reread. I give it 4 stars. It's a very nice start to the story, and it's nice to see when you're watching the show as well to see how different the two are, because they are very different. This is more graphic. If you didn't know, this bad boy is a lot more graphic than the TV show, and you're like, Caitlin, can't be. It is. It's very graphic. If you can't handle the gore of the show, you will not be able to handle this. This has trigger warnings galore. If you get triggered by certain things, pretty much every trigger warning is in this book. And not just in this book, but the entirety of the Walking Dead comics. So you have to be strong-willed to read the comics, especially towards the end of this one. The governor is a very, I'm having nightmares about. I'm already having flashbacks. I haven't read that in a while. It's been years. It's been about 5 years since I've read the entirety of this thing, but I still remember it. It's still a vivid memory, and I can still look at it and be like, yeah, I might skip over that when I get to that point. Anyways, but if you like the TV show and you can handle the gore, I highly recommend you reading the comics, because there we come to my one and only DNF of this year so far, and it was Here to Stay by Mark Edwards, and it's about a man who marries this woman. It's very quick kind of marriage, and then her parents come to live with them and her younger sister. I got tired of it real quick. There was no suspicion. Like, we knew the parents were just like freeloader. Like, it was beaten into our heads that they're freeloaders, and it was like, well, it's just, obviously there's something suspicious going on, and like, I was like, there's nothing that's going to surprise me. I looked at the ending, and I was like, yeah, no, that don't surprise me one bit. Like, absolutely nothing surprised me looking at the ending, and I was just, I hated this. I hated it so much. I DNF'd this at 50%. I read 50%. I was like, I'm done with this. Done. Can't do it. So it's a 1 star for me. It's not good. It's not good at all. Don't read it. And then I read Othello by Shakespeare. This is, I'm not grabbing the big book. You're like, Caitlin, you already grabbed a big book. I don't feel like bringing out my Shakespeare book. Othello is the story of Othello, who is a black man who marries a white woman at the beginning of the story, and then things take a turn for the worst when his friend Iago, or not so friend Iago, tells him that his wife is cheating on him, and a lot of miscommunication happens, and it's a tragedy. So you can infer of what happens in the end. It's not a spoiler that it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. I just won't tell you what happens. I gave it 3 stars. It's a pretty good novel. I think it's before its time of a black man marrying a white woman, interracial couple, and I was like, wow, okay, Shakespeare, you breaking boundaries here, and nobody talks about it. Like, what? This is a story about a black man marrying a white woman, and they have a healthy relationship until Iago comes and destroys it. But if Iago hadn't been there, it would have been a healthy, great relationship. Shakespeare was before his time. I'm just telling you. And I don't want to hear the talk about he didn't write his own plays. I read 52, Volume 4, and I loved it when I read it. I don't remember anything. Like, Volume 3, I really don't remember anything. I loved it when I read it. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was a perfect ending. Did I write anything? I just wrote perfect ending to this series. Yeah, it's a really good ending. From what I remember, it sets up for there's like an 52 aftermath, I think. Things got tied up in a nice little bow, and you just move on with your life, and it's really sad. Some things are really sad, and then other things you're just like, I'm ready to keep reading, and then I never kept reading. But that's beside the point. I loved it. It was a good story. Okay, moving on. Oh, yeah. And then I read The Mysterious Affair at Styles. I then read The Mysterious Affair at Styles, which is the first novel in the Hercule Poirot series. And you'd be like, Caitlin, there's a series. Yes, it's a series. Hated Murder on the Orient Express. I liked this much, much better than Murder on the Orient Express. And I think that was because Hastings is the narrator of the story, but he's not the narrator for all of Hercule Poirot's novels, and I think that might be something that's holding me back from really liking Hercule Poirot. I give this 3 stars. It's a low 3 stars. I'm gonna read what I wrote, because I was kind of angry. It says low 3 stars, it was solid 3 star till that ending. Oh yeah, the ending's stupid. I had forgotten about that ending. That ending is so stupid. Okay, everything made sense about the case, but everything after that made me a little, oh yeah. Everything. Also didn't appreciate the poking fun of the 2 people Poirot and Hastings are clearly a bad imitation of. They made fun of Sherlock Holmes, and I was like, yeah, no. You're never going to beat her. Like, Hastings is a really bad imitation of John Watson. He is just useless. The entire novel, and you're just like, and then at one point he like randomly proposes to this girl, and you're just like, what? I am so confused. And there was some lines that was just weird. Like, one was like, Pro at one point was like, you can call me Papa or something like that. I was like, no, no, no. I liked it better. Murder on the Orient Express. This mystery made a lot more sense than Murder on the Orient Express. And I know people are going to come at me and be like, well, it's supposed to be his hardest case. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I hated it. The ending sucks. It's stupid. Okay? I will continue to just bash on Murder on the Orient Express until it's not a good book. It's not good. And people love it. Speaking of bad books, my next book was really, really bad too. Yeah, the next book is The Immortal by Isla Rock, and I have no idea where it is. I really don't care if it disappears. It's such a bad book, and I read it all the way through because I was doing the Read It or Leave It challenge for Weeby Booking. I'll leave the video link in the description. You can go watch it. I did a whole vlog about it. So I think this is the first book I read. Maybe? Yeah. I think this was the first book I read. It was bad. It had this religious aspect that just didn't need to be there. It was just not good. It was about, so this guy, he gets attacked, and they do this procedure on him to save him. But before they do the procedure, they never tell you he's the one that created this procedure to make him immortal. And just, so they do this procedure, and I was like, he never gave this consent, and like, there's a possibility he's just going to be in a vegetable state forever, and you didn't get his consent. And that bothered me so much, and it was just not good. This book was not good. I'm going to give this 1 star. Ugh. The religious aspects make no sense in this book. I am like one of 11 people who have read this book. I bought this book at Goodwill at some point. I'm gonna change this. It was so bad. I'm gonna change it to 1 star. It is so bad. Don't read it. Don't put yourself through this mess of a book. It doesn't even have the picture. Look at that. It doesn't even have the picture on there. So, it's not good. It's not good. I somehow read through that and didn't finish a decent, what most people would consider a decent book. The book was also in the Read It or Leave It challenge, and that was The Trap by Melanie Rabe. This is a book about a woman who, her sister was murdered, and she's trying to figure out who murdered her sister. Well, she actually knows who murdered her sister. She's just trying to get him convicted of her sister's murder, and she's writing a book about it, and this is not what she normally does, and she also doesn't do interviews, and so she does an interview with the guy she believes is the murderer, and there's a slight aspect of, is she an unreliable narrator? Because she only saw him for like a split second, and so you're like, is that the guy that actually murdered her sister or not? You find out when you read the book. It's actually pretty good. I give 3 stars. Not terrible. Not the best. But it's okay. The Widow by Fiona Barton. I don't have it on Goodreads for whatever reason. That's weird. I think I gave this 3 stars too. It was about the same as The Trap. Same feelings. This is about a woman who her husband was tried for a murder and kidnapper, but never got convicted of murder and kidnapping, and it's a story of like going back and forth, this past and present aspect of the story, finding out whether her husband actually did it or he didn't, or was she involved, and there was like interview part of it, and you find out what happened. Yeah, don't let the backs fool you. It seems like it's all about her. It's not. The detective also has major plots in that too. So, anyways, then I read The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. This is about a girl, two girls actually, who go through this terrible, terrible thing when they were younger because their dad was he was a lawyer for people who he didn't like. The town didn't like that he was their lawyer, so some of the town did some really bad things to his two daughters. And then now there was a school shooting, so trigger warning for school shooting, attempted suicide, sexual assault. Like, if you can name it, it's in there. Not kidding. Legitimately, anything, it's in this book. I give it 4 stars. It's a very solid read. Some nice plot twists towards the end of the book, and you know, it's a very, very good Karen Slaughter novel. Read it. Ben is everything. Also, he's the love interest of one of the sisters. He is everything. We love Ben. We stand Ben. Okay. Then I read Digital Girl by B. Austin. This is a story about a girl, hacker girl, who is 12 years old. She gets sucked into her computer and she goes on a journey to get out of her computer. If you liked Alice in Wonderland or The Wizard of Oz, this is kind of in the same aspect of those 2 books series. I know there's more than one. It's a very short book. I was sent this book, actually. I think this is an indie publisher, or indie author, so if you would like to support her, it's a cute little middle grade. I actually got this signed by B. Austin herself. If you watch the vlog, I talked about there were some things that didn't make sense. So go watch the vlog. You'll find out more of my thoughts about this book. City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. This is also Read It or Leave It, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I think I gave it 4 stars. This is her Mortal Instruments series by Clary, who finds out that she is the daughter of a shadow hunter, and shadow hunters face demons. They are the children of fallen angels, or descendants of fallen angels, and you know, it is what it is. Everyone knows about it. I enjoyed it. It's not the worst thing, but it's not the best book series that I've ever read. I gave it 4 stars. I'm reading the next book this month, so let's see if my feelings changed at all after reading City of Ash. I think it's actually the next book I'm reading. Ha! So you'll know. Little Aliens by Stephen Cole. This is a retelling of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which is one of my all-time favorite books. Considering I don't like Murder on the Orient Express, it's very surprising that I liked And Then There Were None. But whatever. We're going to continue bashing on Murder on the Orient Express. Yeah, this is I'm a huge fan of Doctor Who, and I love this story of kind of taking that concept of And Then There Were None. I really want some more And Then There Were None retellings. There's this aspect towards the end where you're flipping between perspectives and getting different storylines. They're all split up, so you're seeing different things. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure kind of thing, but not really. I loved it. It was until that chapter hit, and I was like, oh wow, that's really good. And it ends, it's just so good. Enjoyed it. 4 stars. Very, very good. And then the last book I have read before this, before May, is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This is a book about Catherine, who goes to live with her aunt or a family friend, I don't remember. Falls in love with a guy, and she goes to live with him for a while, and his dad thinks that she's rich. She's not. She's kind of poor, but she's living with some really rich friends. And that kind of gets in the way, but it's just their love story, and it's kind of cute. It's not as good as Pride and Prejudice, though, but nothing can beat Pride and Prejudice. And that is all that I've read this month that I'm going to be telling you, because I still have some books that are secret, because of a video that I have kind of put on hold at the moment, but we'll be hopefully getting back to in the near future. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next time.